Hi, I'm Sarah from the upcoming. A real pleasure to have you here with us at London Film Festival. Maybe you could begin with a brief introduction to Olivia in the Clouds. For people who don't know anything about the film, what can they expect going in?
Thank you for the introduction. This feature is an animated feature and it's mostly 2D animation, but it mixes several different techniques. And the story is magic realism. It plays with that, with metaphors and everything. And it's the story about a plant that falls in love with a luggage, in the sense of how we play with with a relationship seen through multiple views, through memories. For example, in the case of this relationship, from his perspective, she's a plant that is growing and growing, and eventually he's afraid that she will grow legs and leafing. And from her point of view, he's a memory, like a ghost, inside her luggage below the bed. So it plays with that. It plays with elements like that throughout the film.
And where did you get the initial inspiration for the story? And why did you want to tell it on the big screen?
The inspiration in general comes from many places, from my own background. I come from fine arts, and so I mix a lot of metaphors, I mix a lot of elements, personal stories. For example, the luggage is an idea of me coming from long distance relationships, and always I have to, like, some of them I had to break up, but then it was all these memories that I put into these boxes and into this idea of these places. So that idea of mixing different elements together.
Where did you develop your style of animation and how would you characterize it?
I didn't went to film school or animation school, so my style was mostly, at the beginning, was just me playing around and trying to understand materials and elements. And then what I considered was my school was working for TED Education, and also for School of Life. So it was me making animations for them and trying to understand, oh, I want to make a film in this technique, I want to make a film in this other technique. So it was just playing with different techniques and styles.
What about your voice cast? How do you decide who is going to voice your characters for you? And what was it like working with them?
What I wanted to do was a film that sounded very authentic in the Dominican Republic. We have this thing that, because our Spanish is very difficult for other Latin American countries to understand, so in our movies we tend to water down our Spanish. So I didn't want that to happen in my film. I wanted to sound as more authentic as possible. So that was the process of trying to find these voices, trying to find these people that sounded like real Dominican sound.
Give us a bit of a sense of, the whole process of making the film. How long a period were you working on it over, and what was it like when you saw the final product?
Well, this film took 10 years to make. And at the beginning, it was just this crazy idea that I had in a country where we don't have an animation industry. We don't have a culture for animation. So during the first few years was, how do I make this film? Like, I didn't know how to. And I wanted to have a Dominican crew, like a local crew. So I understood that I had to build my own thing from scratch. So I went to film school and I started teaching there, teaching animation. So I added all these people that were former students of mine into the group. And because all of them come from different backgrounds, I couldn't make an animation in one specific style. So what I said was each to bring their own style, their own techniques. So the entire animation is that. It's a mix of multiple techniques and multiple styles.
And what do you think makes it special about this kind of medium in cinema? I guess you're able to be creative in a way that you can't be with live action, and any ideas that you want to portray, you have that ultimate freedom to do it through animation.
Exactly, and it's that process. When I'm teaching animation, I notice that with live action, for example, with fiction, you have these structures, the film language of what you can use. But when you're adding animation to it, you can add elements from fine arts, from graphics, and from all details. Like, for example, if you draw a character a certain way, it means something, it expresses a feeling. If you use these specific colors or anything, so you can play around with a lot more in visuals with animation.
What do you ultimately want people to take away from watching the film, and what do you think it has to say about how we can cling on to the past, particularly with romantic relationships?
The film comes from some ideas that I have while watching this feature film from Imman Berman that's called Scenes from a Marriage. And at some point they talk about, there's this character that mentioned when we are in school, we learn math, we learn about history and all that, but we don't actually learn how to connect with each other. So we leave school being emotional illiterates, and that phrase got to me in the sense of how do I express that? How do we connect? How we connect with each other? How we build relationships? So I was playing when with the movie. I was playing with that, with the concept of how we do that, and me putting my point of view on that. And people, when they see it, they just get a sense of that idea of relationships.
What does it mean to you to have the film here at London Film Festival?
Oh, it's amazing! It's the first time I'm here in London, and it's quite an experience. I really enjoy it. And also yesterday we have our premiere here, and I was at the audience and seeing the reaction of the crowd was really beautiful.
And do you already know what you're going to work on next? And what will you take away from working on this film to your next project?
Oh, people are very sincere when they like something. When they don't like something. I've been hearing a lot of feedback of everything from all points of view, and that gives me a sense of how the film is making, what works, what not. So while and now I'm working on a new feature, and all those ideas are incorporating that into the feature, like as a feedback. So they give me. So it's really interesting to have that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all that with me. Huge congratulations on the film and really enjoy your rest of the time here in London. Thanks a lot.